Hello learners, welcome back. Today in this video, let us study a topic which is far more important than what we have studied anything about vectors in the previous videos. The topic is known as vector calculus. Vector calculus deals with the integration and differentiation of vectors or scalars as and when the problem will ask us to do so. So, there are three types of operation that we can perform on vectors and scalars. One is known as gradient, another is known as divergence and curl. Gradient can be performed on scalar quantities and divergence and curl can be performed only on vector quantities. So let us see some important concept without delay, which is known as delta. Delta is an operator which will help us differentiate scalars and vectors, and it will help us to perform the operations which are known as gradient, divergence and curl that we see here. So delta is ideally a vector quantity that is represented by del x ax, del y ay, del z az. Because we have already studied the component form of vectors, by looking at this expression, you might have already guessed that what it will do. This operator will help us differentiate a vector and it will help us to know the space rate of change of any vector. Like, for example, if we want to know how much a vector is changed in x direction, how much it is changed in y direction or in z direction, performing this operator with the vector will help us to understand that. Even it will help us to know some important quantities about scalar. This video I have dedicated to make you understand the importance of gradient, divergence and curl without going too much into the mathematical details of these quantities. So today we are going to learn only about the physical significance of these three operations, and maybe in the next video we'll study and we'll see some numerical so that we can also be able to perform some numerical. So let us pick up the first topic, that is a gradient. Gradient helps us to understand the maximum space rate of change of a scalar. What I mean to say here is that, let us see this example. Let's say that there is a room and in one corner of the room there is an insect and on the other corner of the room there is a heater, and the heating effect of this heater is represented by this scalar quantity. Because we know that temperature is a scalar quantity, let us say that T is equals to x into y into z. So gradient will help us understand that how much and in which direction the insect should move to get the maximum change in temperature. So if you find out gradient at a point in this room, let's say that the point is where the insect is located, you will get to know the shortest distance this insect has to travel in a straight path, obviously, to reach towards the highest temperature, maybe towards this heater. And this is what is the significance of gradient. Here on the screen you can see that there are a lot of formula available for gradient, but this maybe will cover in the next video. But as I can assume that if you have studied engineering mathematics, you already know the formula for gradient in rectangular coordinate system. So let us use this formula in the previous slide. Let us say that we have a gradient quantity T is equals to x, y, z. How will we find out the gradient of this T? Let us find out. I am applying the formula in rectangular coordinate system, as you can see. So what we are going to do is, we are going to differentiate the vector T one by one with respect to x, with respect to y and with respect to z, and with each coefficient that we are writing here, the direction should be written as it is. like this. So when you differentiate x, y, z, the partial differentiation, if you do it with respect to x, you will get yz. Then you will get xz. And then the last one, xy. So this quantity, what is this quantity? This quantity is a vector. But obviously this vector has some variables x, y and z, and they don't have numerical quantity as the coefficient of this vector. So this vector represents that as and when we will change the values of x, y and z, we will get different values of this vector, because as the position is changed, for example this insect, it is right now at a fixed position, and if you mark this position as some values of x, y and z, and if you place these values here in this resulting vector, you will get a single vector. And when the position of this insect is changed, you will get a different value of x, y and z, so the direction of vector will also change. So you perform the gradient on a scalar and you will get a vector, and this vector tells a very important characteristic. Let us see some properties of the gradient. These properties are very important, you should always remember them. First one, we have already discussed that a gradient can always be performed over a scalar quantity. The second one also we know, because we have performed one gradient operation, that the answer will always be a vector. Also, the last 2 points, they tell you kind of the same thing, that whenever you find the gradient of a scalar, you will get a direction, and direction will tell you the maximum rate of change of the scalar quantity. And also, because it will tell you the maximum rate of change, obviously that it will follow the shortest path, and the shortest path normally is a perpendicular. So when you find out the gradient of a scalar, you will get a vector which will be perpendicular to the surface over which you are performing the gradient operation. Now let us switch towards the next topic, that is divergence. Divergence is a quantity that is found out of a vector. When you find the divergence of a vector, you will actually find out that at a given point how many vectors are either coming out or they are going inside that point. So as the name suggests, it will tell you the divergence, the diverging vectors which are coming out of a point. So let us consider this diagram that is shown on the screen. Let us say that there are 3 points, point 1, point 2 and point 3, and let us imagine that this is a water stream. So maybe the point number 1 is the source of this water stream. So all the water will come out of this point, and we have shown this outcoming water as the arrows. And in point 2, this water is converging and it is getting inside. So we have shown all the arrows going inside. And there is a point 3 which is kind of in the middle of 1 and 2, and the stream of water is going straight over it. So if we relate it mathematically, what will happen? Let's say that there is at point 1, and there is a point 1, and you have to find the divergence at this point. So because all the arrows are coming out of this point, you will get the positive divergence. I will remind you, and I will tell you again afterwards, that when you find out divergence, the answer is a scalar. So the scalar will be either an expression in the form of x, y, z or any coordinate system that we are dealing with, or it will be a number. So let us say that after finding out the divergence at point 1, the number comes as 8, let's say 8. So this 8 is actually denoting that how many arrows are coming out of 1. As I have chose this number 8 intelligently, see, I have counted these arrows. Only 8 arrows are coming out of this point 1. And here if we find out the divergence, you will get the answer -9, because as you can count, 9 arrows are getting inside this point. So this is what we come up with, is that whenever you find out divergence, if the divergence is positive, we can say that all the arrows are coming out of this point, or the flux is coming out of this point. And if you get the divergence as negative, that means all the arrows are only going inside. And let us consider this third point. if there is a point where neither the arrows are coming out nor they are going inside and they are looking to be going parallel over it, we can say that there is a possibility, a lot of possibility that you will get zero divergence. So concluding this, we can say that the physical significance of divergence is to tell the flux that is coming out of any shape, and we'll see in future EMT that divergence will help us to understand that. These are the formula for divergence. So we will not go too much into the formula. I'll dedicate a separate video for using this formula, deriving this formula, and means using them to solve a problem. So let us go ahead and see some important properties of divergence. Divergence can only be found of a vector quantity. This you should remember. The divergence is denoted by delta operator, dot multiplication sign, and the vector quantity. So whenever you see something written like this, you can say that the divergence is being performed. The result of divergence is always a scalar. That is the second important thing that you should know. And the other things that I have already told you with the help of the previous diagram, that divergence can be positive or it can be negative. The positive divergence will show you divergence and the negative divergence will show you convergence. Okay, and the zero divergence will tell you that the quantity over which we are trying to find out divergence, it has neither a source nor a sink. So it's a sourceless and sinkless quantity, like magnetic field. Let us see the last operation, that is curl. So unlike gradient and divergence, curl is a quantity that tells you about rotation. Curl can be performed, and it is usually performed over a vector that is rotational, that rotates keeping an axis as constant. It rotates over an axis. So let us see this diagram and directly understand the significance of curl. Let's say that this is a screw and we are trying to tighten the screw. So obviously, to tighten a screw, you will have to rotate it clockwise, and it will go in this bottom direction. Let us say that the force which is being applied because of the rotation of the screw is A, and the rotational force which is rotating the screw, let us say that this is B. So if we find out the curl of B, which is the cross product with the delta operator, you will get the result as vector A. So where this curl operator is useful? So whenever you are seeing a scenario where something is rotating, but it is rotating around an axis, and there is a vector which is there inside the axis and it is going in some particular direction, you can perform curl to understand this scenario. So what we have understood that whenever you perform the curl over a rotational vector, you will get another vector which is actually going from inside the axis of this rotational motion. Let us skip the curl formula. We know that the curl is performed with the help of cross operation. So obviously we are going to use determinant format. But we will not discuss the formula right now. Let us go directly to the properties of the curl. Curl has one important property, that it can only be performed over a vector. Another property is that when you perform curl over a vector, the answer will also be a vector. Also, curl can only be performed or evaluated over a rotational vector, a vector which is not rotating, a vector which has some sink and some source, and the source and sink are not same. The performance of curl over that vector will be 0. And also, whenever you perform the curl over a rotational vector, you will get a resulting vector which will be the axis of the rotation. So these all 4 properties you should remember. This will help you. The last slide is very important, and I have discussed it to tell you the relationship between divergence gradient and curl, and 2 important things about divergence and curl. So what will we call a vector whose divergence is 0? remember the point 3. On the point 3, if we perform divergence, choosing any point or any vector over that point, you will get the divergence 0. So intuitively we can say that the vector whose divergence cannot be found will be known as a divergence-less vector, or the other name is solenoidal vector. Also, divergence of the curl of a vector will always be 0, because whenever you find out the curl of a vector, that means the vector does not have a source of sink, because the vector is rotational. A rotational vector will have the source and sink as same. It does not have a separate source of sink, so its divergence will always be 0. Also, there are examples which are the vectors which are divergence-less. So one example is incompressible fluid, another example is magnetic field, and the last example is conduction current density. There are various examples from various fields, but these 3 examples will help you understand the importance of solenoidal fields. The last thing is that what will be that vector called whose curl is 0? That vector will be either called as irrotational or potential. So the example of irrotational or potential field is electrostatic field or gravitational field. These 2 fields are called irrotational because they have a starting point and an ending point. An electrostatic field is always formed because there is somewhere a higher potential and there is other place where there is lower potential. And also we should remember that if you perform the gradient of a scalar, and after that if you perform the curl over it, the answer will always be 0. So take a screenshot of these points, because these points are very important. You can find these points in any of the standard books like HATE and SADIQ. I hope you have understood what I have explained in the today's video, and please see my next video, because I promise, because in the next video I will discuss the formulas that I have skipped in this video. So if you like this video, please like it, subscribe it, and encourage me to make more such videos. Thank you. Have a good day.